Okay, so was I the only one trolled by the ending sequence of this episode? Like, when I saw, like, the water fountain or whatever pop up, I thought the episode was over. Like, I'm so used to seeing that pop up and, the credits start playing and, I just, get off the episode. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, episode's over. And then I saw the scene continue and I saw, Joseph and Chise get to see him. I'm like, whoa, the episode's continuing, and I thought there was a very big missed opportunity with that, because, besides it being a troll, I thought there was a missed opportunity to where the ending song could have been playing over that scene. Like, it could have had lyrics playing with Chise walking up and meeting the man, and then, it cuts into the ending song. But that did not happen. I feel like in just terms of editing-wise, that was truly a missed opportunity for this week's episode, and also just the way it was done, I don't know, it just felt very clunky to me, personally. But, anyways, getting off of that, because that's not really that important, this episode has a lot of progression for Chise's situation and tries to clarify what is going on with Carta/Joseph. So, this episode's pretty much the episode to make us feel sympathetic, to feel upset or sad for Joseph and comprehend what he's gone through and why he acts like he does. But I want to be real here with all of you. Even though I feel like the backstory of Joseph's pretty interesting, I don't really connect with the man. I still don't truly feel sorry for the man at all. I'm gonna be real here. So let's get into what led Joseph to be like how he is, or Carta in general. So apparently a long time ago, Carta threw a rock at Jesus, God's son, and got cursed to never die. Well, in a way, his body dies, but he doesn't legit die. For instance, his body decays, but he just cannot die. And I'll clarify that more in just a second, but his curse is pretty awful. It's a pretty deadly curse when you think about it. It's probably one of the worst curses to really have, because of just how it is in general. But, his curse and all that, what led him to be like he is, it's just, it's kind of messed up. In a lot of ways, it shows how petty it is. Look, I know that you shouldn't throw a rock at God's son and Jesus and all of that, but it's very petty to curse a man to live for the rest of his days, or to never die until the end of all things. It's kind of petty to, man throws a rock, he's cursed like that. But, what gets me is that, apparently when Jesus died, it was supposed to, kind of remove everybody's sin. Everybody was forgiven in that moment. And I'm just like, for that to happen, that type of curse, it's kind of petty. It's very petty. For a man throwing a rock at Jesus, being cursed to walk throughout the rest of his days, decaying and dying, but, can't really die. It's just like, that's messed up. It is. And I feel bad for the man just for that alone, but I don't really connect with the man. So let's talk about what is going on with Joseph and Carta, and kind of what is happening with the curse. So to kind of explain the curse in simple terms, Carta, his body endlessly ages. So imagine how we are as human beings, okay? Imagine how we go throughout everyday life. We're always constantly aging. Every second that goes on by, we are getting older and older. And even though many of us don't like to accept the fact, one of these days, all of us, we will die. That's how it is. All of us will eventually succumb to death. Even if you don't want it to happen, we all don't usually want it to happen, eventually it will happen to all of us that are living. However, Carta, he has been cursed to be able to live forever. Now, at first glance, this seems like a blessing in a way, being able to live. And I know that there's been a lot of combos about what would happen if someone was immortal. If you were immortal, in a lot of ways, you could feel like it's a bit of a curse. Even if your body was fine, the reason why is because you would have to see your loved ones die, you'd have to progress throughout the ages and all that, just seeing everything change, and eventually, if you are really that immortal, when the universe ends, you'll still be around floating in space and suffering. So, there's a lot of, discussions on the whole aspect of immortality and how it could result in being a curse. But in this case, Joseph/Carta, his immortality is quite different from our aspect or outlook on immortality. His body is dying. It's endlessly aging. But it gets to the point to where his body ages, it's decayed, but he will not die. It's kind of like, imagine your body turning into a mummy, okay? Imagine your body literally mummifying and just decaying and, becoming decrepit and you can't really move or whatever. That's what happens to Carta. His body is endlessly aging throughout the years, but like I said, his spirit will not go on. His body just won't malfunction and just die. He cannot just drop dead. He might not be able to move, he may be stuck underground and all that, but he cannot die. And I feel like his aspect of immortality, what he has, is probably one of the worst fates you can have. Because imagine feeling your body aging and dying, but then you cannot die. That's horrible. I mean, also it explains why he constantly changes body parts. The reason why he constantly cuts off people's legs or arms or eyes, whatever, he's always adding new things, is because that's the only way he can make it to where his body isn't old and decaying. If he adds in new body parts onto his self, those body parts are technically still alive until they do start decaying. And so, for a little bit, he can live in somewhat comfort. So it explains why he's more of like a patchwork job, just, stitched together, is because he's trying to relieve his body from the pain. He wants to make it to where his body feels young again, or feels like it's not dead. So I feel bad for the man for that alone, but it does, explain what drove him to do certain things like he does, and why he just stitches, body parts onto himself. It's pretty messed up. But, carrying on, though, we also need to talk about what happened at the beginning of the episode. So, Elias, he screamed out in anger and sadness / loneliness, and it's pretty sad. It was, because for the first time, Elias really understands what it feels to be lonely. He's really starting to understand his emotions now. Like, he doesn't fully comprehend everything, but he's starting to realize that he is definitely more human than a fairy. And when you see how he just screams out and all that, and like the, entire forest starts decaying and stuff, it just shows his anger, his sadness, and he really couldn't comprehend what Chisei was doing, and he was just so upset that Chisei just left him, and she always said that she would be there for him, and he was just very confused about it. And eventually you see, Oberon and, Titania, they both pop up to actually, help him out. Now, speaking of appearance-wise, Titania, she lacked some assets on the chest, I noticed in this episode, and I think it was explained. It was explained that the reason why she looked like she did was because of the branch. Apparently, since the forest was in such condition like it was thanks to Elias, she could only kind of come into this physical form thanks to the branch only being alive, or a little part of the forest being alive, and that's why she looked like she did. But even then, though, I do feel like this version, is a lot better than her normal version. I don't know, I just feel like her assets are a little bit, too big for my liking, just way too big. But I mean, besides that though, I do like how that scene was done. It does show once again how fairies in general, they truly can't comprehend what love is, or the meaning of love, or how we as human beings view love. Now, this has been previously established for a very long time, and it's one of the big plot points or character points for Elias and his continued development. For instance, he is half human, half fairy, and he cannot comprehend emotions. The way they view emotions and certain things is very different from a normal human. This has been reestablished multiple times. And in this episode, you see how Oberon and Titania, they both start to talk to Elias and like, look, your spouse, she's gone and all of that, but we can bring her back. Don't worry, we'll bring her back. But this time, don't lose her. Lock her up. Keep her safe where she can never go outside again. And when you see that, us as humans, we know how messed up that is. Forcing someone against their will to be locked up and not being able to ever leave, that's torture, that's cruelty. But from their perspective and the way they view love and how they obsess over love, that's nothing. That they think that is exactly normal. And so when Ella started to slightly agree with their perspective, he's like, wait a minute, Their thinking is exactly what Chibi was trying to tell me about how wrong it is and how misguided it is. And so when he states, like, I need to change my way of thinking, it's Elias finally realizing that he needs to stop thinking about how they think or what they think. He needs to think in a different way, a different perspective, change his overall way he views things. And that is what he was trying to do in this episode, trying to view everything from a different angle that he normally never did. And so I do like how he went out of his way and he managed to get everybody to help out Chibi. It also shows how much he's starting to open up. I mean, I've already kind of mentioned this a couple of times while reviewing the series, that Elias has shown that he is starting to become a little bit more open to the people around him. He's not as much as a hermit as he once was, but this episode perfectly showcases that he is no longer isolated. He's going out of his way communicating with people to really help out Chibi because of how much he cares for her. So that's what that ending sequence was trying to show, that with everybody popping up trying to help out, and, you know, also the fairies and stuff helping out, it shows that, you know, Elias is willing to ask people, not be a hermit, just to be able to help someone out that he actually loves. Now, besides that, though, let's talk about the scene at the end. So, I want to be honest here, the whole bull scene, a little bit random. I feel like that was a big coincidence. It was random and a major coincidence. I mean, it doesn't destroy the episode for me. I feel like the whole subplot with the witches is very weird right now. I don't think it's necessarily really that important in the grand scheme of things. I mean, we already know that they really can't help out, so I just feel like the whole situation with the witches is just very pointless. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the mythology and stuff in this series. It's very entertaining, but I just feel like the witches and stuff, just their overall relevance to what's happening right now, just it's not that important. But that's about it when it comes to this week's episode of The Ancient Magus' Bride. So let me know your thoughts. Did you enjoy this week's episode? Did you hate this week's episode? Be honest in the comments below. And if you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below next to the subscribe button. With that, be safe. Chibi out.